Hello, vinyl community. I just got through listening to an album using my new Neurophone headphones. Be sure and check out the previous video where I talk about these in depth and share with you what is very special about them. So, yes. So, Dean at Grandma's Handbag here on YouTube. He had recently posted a video, I think about a week ago, and we had a bit of a conversation or exchange of messages on there that went something like this. Yeah, so I don't know if you were able to read that, but essentially, he showed, I believe it was a box set of the Velvet Underground, and I had mentioned that, you know, it was a band I had never been able to get into, and that in most cases, other than perhaps Perfect Day, Lou Reed's vocals kind of annoy me. Yeah. Uh, but as you may have seen in the exchange there, he recommended not only an album that I should check out, but a song in particular. And thanks to you, Dean. A little cheers here. I ended up picking it up on vinyl. So this is my first ever Velvet Underground album. So this is 1970s Loaded. And it was recorded between April and August of 1970 and was released in November 1970. And this particular Rhino vinyl release was from April 19th, 2014. And it's, you know, it's a no frills package, but it sounds great. Yeah, so I have no complaints. I'll just show you quickly what I mean by no frills packaging. You know, this plain paper donut sleeve. So, you know, but it is on cotillion or cotillon. Yeah, but I'm pleased I picked this up, and I do want to share with you my first impressions of this album. Technically, this was the second time I listened to it, but the first time was in the car, and so I wasn't actively listening to it. So, and you probably saw that in the little exchange of messages there with Dean as well. But yeah, so I was impressed. This is a highly rated album. Basically album rock or proto-punk or even just rock and roll. I picked up some other flavors in there as well, and I'll mention that as I go along. But AllMusic gives this album 5 stars, and over 2,300 AllMusic users give it 5 stars. So this is a pretty well spoken for album, and you know what? I think I have to agree. Yeah, I never thought I would say that in a million years, but there you go. So we're just gonna go. Uh, oh, first of all, some comparisons that All Music made for this album, um, and I picked up some other things that you know just based on my first listen. So they compare this to the New York Dolls, the Modern Lovers, MC5, Flamin' Groovies, and even Love. So just some comparisons there. But most of you were on the Velvet Underground bandwagon long before I was. So I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. But I'm just sharing the information that I've gained since obtaining this album. So, all right. So let's start out. We're just gonna do track by track here. So the opening track, "Who Loves the Sun." Initially, I was struck with a Beatles vibe, like 60s AM pop, bubblegum pop, Beatles basically. Yeah, so it was a fun song, and no denying that. Then we go to the second track, "Sweet Jane," which had a little bit of a psychedelic opening, a little bit, and then Lou Reed's Bob Dylan style vocals come in, and when he's doing that style, I like it. It works, definitely. So, this was a more rockin' track, and I really enjoy the chorus of it. So, then we have the song "Rock and Roll," and this one it struck me as reminiscent of the Rolling Stones. And again, these are just my first impressions. They could be completely off the wall, so forgive me. This was a much more raw sounding track, which is probably where the proto-punk comes in. Definitely garage rock, definitely a punk attitude, so there you go. Good track. All right, one of my favorite tracks on the album is "Cool It Down." I really, really enjoy the overdubbed vocals. Listening in headphones as I was, you hear one voice in this ear and one voice in this ear. I could be wrong. I think they're both Lou Reed. I could be entirely wrong. Again, I'm new to the Velvet Underground, so forgive me. But I really enjoyed that effect. There was a very cool piano solo. Nothing spectacular, but very cool. This was much more mid-tempo, and there was even a hint of Southern rock, so that was kind of cool, because I love Southern rock. So then the song that Dean actually recommended, although I enjoyed it, it ended up not being one of my favorite tracks on the album. So although I do enjoy it, I actually enjoyed every single song on here. So, so this one was New Age, and it's the first ballad on the album, and I really enjoyed the backing vocals, particularly on the chorus, and this song, and probably why it's not one of my favorites on the album. It kind of shows, I hate to say imperfections or flaws or anything like that, but it shows the character of his voice a little bit, and yeah. I kind of have to say limitations, because that's kind of what it is. We all know that Lou Reed is not an opera singer, so. But yes, so that's probably the first song where we really kind of hear some of those limitations, and yet the song is still good. And I have to say, many of my favorite singers have limitations in their vocals. um, Tom Waits, Bob Dylan. Those are just a couple. So I can totally appreciate the artistry beyond anyone's limitations in their vocals. So let me just say that. All right, so I think that was the first side there. Yeah. So then the second side starts out with Head Held High, more like a garage rock song, definitely rockin', and definitely that punk attitude again. So the follow-up track to that, Lonesome Cowboy Bill, well, at first I thought it was going to be like the throwaway track from the album, because my first impression of it was that it was a southern rock song, meant to be played at 33 and a third, that someone was playing at 45. So it struck me as being too fast, and at first it almost seemed to have a comedic effect to it. But even in just the span, the song is less than 3 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes and 48 seconds. And just in that span, by the end, I got it. I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. So, yeah, it just grew on me. But I did have that initial impression that it sounded like it was too fast. Now we're to probably my second favorite track on the album. Let's see. I Found a Reason. So, another ballad. Absolutely beautiful. And it does feature... There's a word for it. When there's a break in a song and there's a spoken word part. It was very, very popular in the 60s, maybe even the 50s. And one band that really made it popular was the Ink Spots. I think they did it in every song. So you definitely have that spoken word part. And I have to say, in the context of this song, it totally worked. Those can very easily go badly and just turn the song into pure cheese. But I enjoyed it, and it fit well into the rest of the song. And it was fairly short, too. So that helped. And there's a definite 60s vibe on this song as well. So then we're to another one of my favorite songs, Train Round the Bend. This was an interesting one. This one featured a very, very nice use of stereo. You had some instrumentation that was traveling between the ears, and you definitely get that sense of transport or locomotion. And again, we have the Dylan style vocals here, and let's see. I couldn't make out what the instrument was. It was difficult to tell, but I'm pretty sure it went through the whole song. It was a repetitive either organ or piano, or maybe even a combination of the two. This is very, very repetitive, and it gave you the sense of the train, and it would travel between the ears there, and that was a really, really cool effect, and I love that. It almost had like a drone quality to it, which was really cool. And then the album closes out with what ended up being my favorite song on the album, "Oh Sweet Nothing." Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, so another ballad. And this was a truly beautiful song. Again, I never thought I would say that about a Lou Reed song other than Perfect Day. And I feel like I'm really bashing him, but these were my impressions and how I came into this album. And I'm just saying it just to let you know that this album has really persuaded me. Thanks to Dean at Grandma's Handbag. So be sure and check out his channel. So yeah, beautiful song. It features Lou Reed's vocals at their best, I think. And that's based on one album. So, but really, really good vocals. And it has this kind of sing-along chorus. It just is screaming at you to sing along to it. It has a beautiful, beautiful guitar solo that really builds up some of the intensity, and I love that in songs where they'll start out quiet and then they kind of build up and reach a crescendo, and then there's like a release. Basically, I love that sort of thing. So, in fact, I have a playlist on Amazon of probably 20 songs that all kind of do that. So, but yeah, it builds up, and then you get that return back to the quiet moments of the beginning, and just very, very satisfying. So, yeah. So those are my first impressions on the Velvet Underground's Loaded from 1970. Again, a huge thank you to Grandma's Handbag, Mr. Dean. Thank you for recommending that song, even though it didn't end up being my favorite. But I see why you picked that song, though, because it was perhaps the closest song to Perfect Day. So I got that comparison. And it's a good song, don't get me wrong. And it led to hearing the rest of the album. And I'm pretty blown away. So, yeah. So again, thank you, Dean. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. One more cheers from Central Perk. We actually had the privilege of going to Central Perk and getting our photo taken. Maybe I'll insert that. I don't know. Yeah. And it's not in New York. Can you believe that? It's on the Warner Brothers Studios. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.